I said, Sarah, when women get too powerful, does the skinny trend come back? And you said, were we ever really that powerful?
This episode is brought to you by Bumble.
We know making the first move on dating apps can be a little daunting.
Luckily, Bumble's opening move feature makes it super easy to get the conversation going straight away.
Sarah, what is your opening move? I'm very curious about this, actually.
I always ask, what is your most unpopular opinion?
Mine is name 3 dishes you can cook.
Just to test that they can cook.
You've got to test them out.
I love it. On Bumble, you can either write your own opening move or choose from one of the many suggestions.
Then sit back and wait for your matches to come to you.
This is your sign to download the app and date on your terms.
Find Bumble in the Apple Store or on Google Play. Hi, I'm Hannah.
And I'm Sarah.
And this is Small Talk.
It's not quite a news headline, but it is what the girls are talking about.
Look at us.
It's a perfect tagline.
It's literally, and we are the girls.
I love the tagline implies we are girls.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. If you weren't sure what the girls are talking about this week, we're here to actually define and tell you on
We'll
behalf.
tell you. We should also say how outrageous that is.
It's absolutely so self-centered and crazy as an assumption that we're capable of that. But you know what? Wear the crown.
You get the point we're trying to make.
I think the crown is heavy, but I'm willing to wear it.
Like, you two are so out of touch.
You two are on one today.
And in saying all of that, what are the girls talking about today?
I've decided what I'd like to talk about on behalf of girls, on behalf of Girl today, is a trend that emerged on TikTok last year. It was something that circulated pretty widely in June after one TikTok video that was posted by a woman on TikTok whose name is Bimbo Inspo. Fitting for the girls. Fitting.
Slay.
The video is just a simple, you know the kind, 5-second loop video visually of her with large text over her face. And the text reads, I have a theory that every time women get too powerful, the skinny trend reemerges to keep us all too tired to create or vote.
I remember seeing this at the time.
This was part of the chat, you know, this was in my group chat on Messenger. This was something that was being sent around. I saw it on every TikTok feed. I saw the comment sections. But the reason I wanted to bring it up today is because I think like we're starting a new year. The resolutions are fading. The pressure after like holidays and sort of being in a different routine means that for me personally, like disordered eating tendencies kind of rear their head. There is a pressure to have like a rebrand in 2025. There is a pressure to look and feel a certain way. And I do feel that this is more relevant than ever as we head into a new news year where Donald Trump has just been inaugurated, when we're kind of staring down the barrel of the Australian election. And it's a topic that, you know, like really comes down to the question that I wanted to raise some points and agree and disagree on, which is it true that when women get too powerful, the skinny trend comes back?
It's such an interesting concept. Because it's like, who's bringing the skinny trend back? Are we bringing it back on ourselves?
Thank you, Sarah. That was... And you know what? You do your job well. You do your job well.
Thanks.
Because my first point of the episode was going to be, does the skinny trend ever really go away?
Such a good point. Because, okay, I assume when we think about times that it wasn't, I think there's varying degrees. Like we went through the Kate Moss, nothing tastes as good as skinny feels. Which actually I saw the funniest thing on the other day. Someone was like, yeah, everyone bangs on about the Kate Moss saying nothing tastes as good as skinny feels, leaving out crucial context, the fact she's from the UK. Nothing tastes particularly good there. Really crucial information that we're leaving out of that quote.
They're having beans on toast, for fuck's sake.
Yeah, exactly. I love that when all the Americans were off TikTok for like 2 seconds, and that was that other video I saw of one. So I'm like, finally, I can have beans on toast without some fucker in the comments being like, that's a crazy combo.
I loved when the Americans were off TikTok for 14 hours and people were like, thank God they're not going to be like, why are you posting your summer outfits? It's the middle of winter. And they can't conceptualize that people have different seasonal experiences around the globe.
I know. But my point is, we've had phase like the 90s, the early 2000s was... how stick thin can we be? Yep. And fat phobia.
Oh,
in
rampant.
Now, it did switch a little bit where suddenly it was BBLs.
You're right.
And
2010s, Kim Kardashian led.
Yes. And it was like, curves are good. But like, even that wasn't that much of a step because it was like, she's a huge ass, but like her waist is tiny.
And also,
she's in a tiny waist trainer still.
the argument I'm then going to make is even if the trend is that a woman can be thicker, curvier, it still involves a level of wealth and privilege and power to attain, because you can't just be like, I'm going to wake up tomorrow with the fattest ass. Like, you have to pay for that. Therefore, the trend is still requiring women to conform to something, and therefore it's taking up like our mental space. Because that's really what this comes back to. The idea that the trends, fashion-wise, gaze-wise, beauty standards-wise, that it is controlling women and ensuring that we can't really rise up to a certain level because we are so entirely focused on the visuals, the aesthetic, what we're meeting, how we're failing, right? I also think this really comes back to, for me, what we know is that trends are cycles. Trends are cyclical. The point being that no matter what the current trend is, whether it's thinness or otherwise, the idea is that we have to change trends because you have to have a level of insecurity about what you don't have at all times.
Yeah.
So if skinny has to go out sometimes in order for it then to come back and be a pressure, a new pressure. Because if the trend remains the same all the time and everyone attains it, what are they making money from?
Okay, this is another thought I have on this. I was originally thinking about this in the concept of Ozempic because we went for dinner the other night and we were talking about Ozempic and we were saying how we knew someone from the UK and from the States who have said that it's potentially going to become as easy here as it is over there to get Ozempic. Like, it's kind of like getting a prescription to any sort of medication. You can get it from the chemist. Like, it's the way it was being implied was that it'll be easily attainable to get your hands on Ozempic.
The argument was, in the UK right now, everyone's on it if you want to be on it. And
if you want to
we're like 6 to 12 months behind.
I would actually love to hear, if you are listening from the UK, we'd love some more information on that, because that blows my mind.
And I think, like, I was like, oh, this opinion's coming from circles where Ozempic would be widely taken.
But my thought was, say we live in a world eventually that Ozempic is easy to get for everyone. There will be something else then that is the beauty ideal. It's about having what others can't. It's about being unattainable. I was thinking about it and I was like, okay, so once everyone's like thin, then like in quote, just if you can't see, I'm like,
watch the podcast.
But yeah, watch the podcast. Then is it going to be okay? But the true epitome of beauty is a Pilates figure.
Oh, but that's also current.
Yeah, but it's going to become like, oh, but is it going to be that you have to be like toned in these certain areas, or you have to, it'll be something else that's difficult to achieve and impossible for many people's body types that'll become the new version of this.
And I know we'll do an entirely separate episode on cosmetic procedures, but they are very relevant to this current conversation as well, because from my perspective, that already exists, because you can be thin, but if you are not, Botoxed, or if you don't have the right filler, or if you haven't had a nose job and you feel that you aren't meeting the standard in that way, you're already pressured. And again, it's about payment. It's about wealth. And that is the oppression of women through finances. What's also funny to me in these conversations is whenever cosmetic surgery comes up, it always is like I'm so powerful because I'm choosing to like get rid of my insecurities, and like my feminism is about. Oh my God,
we can't even get into this because we have different opinions on this as well.
I know, but like I wanted to say just quickly and wrap it up in a way where you can't debate me that hard on it. But what I think is interesting about the skinny trend is that you can be thin and therefore your focus becomes your facial features or something else, right? Like there's always going to be a new...
It's also the human psyche. Like if my skin is bad, that's all I'll focus on. I think once my skin is clear, like, I'll feel amazing. But you'll just shift to something else.
Oh, and I have. Like last year, I've been on medication for months now to clear up my cystic acne. I've been talking about it a lot on Instagram because the medication is really rough. But what I found was that as soon as my skin was clear, which was in 8 weeks, suddenly I was like, well, is my hair thickening up? Because I had quite significant hair loss. And then I was focused again on my body because it's just one thing after the other. And it's so interesting. I talked about this in my book Taboo, but my sister, who's much younger than me, she's 19. She had filler, and I've talked about this with her 2 months after she turned 18 in her chin. And we were talking about it, and she said, and then the lady said that I could just come back and get this next time. And I said, well, she wasn't going to say, well, you're beautiful just as you are after this, because this is an acceleration to something new. So I think in the context of bringing it back to like the skinny trend and women being powerful, it's a hyperfixation problem. It's this like, I must focus and place energy in this because I will be taken more seriously, or I will be more palatable to people, or I will be more impressive, or I will be more successful in my job, or my partner will love me more, or I'll find it easier to date. And like the way you feel about yourself in the world will change is this like belief that comes from it. So it's holding us back at all times because it's a mental barrier.
I think even if you were thin or whatever, desirable, and you reached that goal, you then would go online and get stuck in these horrid algorithms that is stuff like, okay, you might have the body you want, but you have cortisol face, or you have this, or you have that. So I really think we invent the problems.
But I will say we're not inventing them. It's always going to be a system.
But we're eating them up.
We are eating them up, and we're projecting them onto ourselves and each other.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I want to come back to, actually, I read this particular piece from Culture Vulture written by Kitty, and this was about the TikTok video that was published. And I thought this was just like a really good point that argues for the sort of resurgence in the skinny trend when women's movements get too powerful. So she writes, if we look at history since this time, it's hard not to see the relationship between women's power and the trend of thinness. The pill was approved for use in 1960, giving women unprecedented bodily autonomy. Then Weight Watchers was founded 3 years later. Roe v. Wade was passed in 1973. The decade to follow would be entrapped in a Reagan-era conservatism as well as an obsession with women's athleticism. Perfect womanhood began to be associated with hours of pumping iron in the gym, to draw from a 1986 Chicago Tribune article. So there's so many examples of this article, and like many others that I was reading in this context, or coming up with the fact that whenever a huge breakthrough occurs, we immediately see an aftermath. But, and just to rebut it for the sake of this episode, I also wonder if it's less about like a particular movement or moment and more the swings and roundabouts that we always see in politics.
Yeah.
Like there's always just like a swing one way and then a kind of an equilibrium rebalancing of the scales is reached.
I think we see that not only in beauty trends or whatever it is, but in everything. Like we see, you know, a big swing in the right wing and then we overcorrect and then like that is the pattern always.
Yeah.
In everything.
It is. And I mean, obviously we hate that. We want every time there's like a new wave of feminism for us to break through those ceilings and not regress. But we consistently, and we're seeing it in the current political landscape, we're seeing that like people get upset when things swing too hard one way and they feel like they're out of control because change is scary.
Yeah.
So interesting.
And we have no memory.
No, we have no
And
memory.
that's the fact. History never learns from itself.
And we have no memory, especially when I can't watch a 15-second TikTok video anymore.
Yeah, we actually have no memory. But also, like, it was only the generation before us. It's not even a generational difference. Like, my auntie or cousins that are like a few years older would remember what it was like to be a teenager in the thick of the early 2000s, 2010s, Australia's Next Top Model, America's Next Top Model period. We're only a few years behind. And like, then my younger cousins are now probably experiencing that, thinking that's a new thing.
Yeah.
Even though there's not even a decade difference between
gosh.
it. But you completely forget. And now we're kind of back on, I would think TikTok more toxic than Tumblr. It just recreates itself.
Diet culture can be measured back to like ancient Greece. Like it's absolutely wild, like the level we're talking about right now. And that's why I'm like, it's really hard to pin down that we can see patterns, but human behavior
is patterns.
Yes. This brings me, I want to make a second point. Now, I'm loving this because I do think I agree so far with
the statement.
Yeah. But I'm really trying to offer like some bounce here. My second point of like contention, my second point of struggle is, can this be a legitimate theory when most women in powerful positions are thin? Now, my starting point for that is I say that controversially because part of the inherent problem with women reaching power positions is the first ones to do it are always the ones that are playing into the systems that oppress us, right? So like to break through the glass ceiling, usually it's a white woman who meets the beauty standard because she is the most palatable to the mainstream. Because that's like our beauty standard, like, and it's fucked up. But it's interesting in the context of this TikTok trend, because then I'm like, if the thinnest women are the ones that are the highest ranking because they've done everything, quote unquote, right to get there, can it be argued that it's like when women get too powerful, the skinny trend comes back when the powerful women are thin?
It feels crazy to be talking about it as to, like, society would deem as, like, thinner white women.
I think that the point being from that, in the context of the statement, is we have made the beauty standard so normal and such a point of achievement that those are the people that are deemed for positions in the hierarchy. And so in order to like dismantle the skinny trend and like allow women to get more powerful, we also need to have representation. But again, a little bit of contention there. For people who see themselves in the beauty standard, right? So women who rise to the top are often like, you know, again, even like a Kate Moss type. We're talking like the modeling world, but we're also talking in like positions of power. Like Jacinda Ardern is like a beautiful, thin woman, right? Like we see it in politics and everywhere. Representation doesn't always equal change though, because it's not really like people who meet the beauty standard aren't insecure. They've just, as we said, found new insecurities.
Yeah.
So representation doesn't necessarily move the needle either. So I still think the point stands, but I wanted to raise it as like a little tidbit. Like,
but it's also like we'll say, okay, this is fucked up, but we will say so many beautiful women are powerful, and there is still going to be 3 people, girls included, that'll be like, I don't think she's hot. I think her lips are thin, or I hate her bob, or like, we tear any woman in power or in the mainstream, even if they have got there as a model or an actress because of their beauty, they will be torn to shreds. This episode is brought to you by Bumble.
Sarah, have you ever been on a date and thought, we have absolutely nothing in common?
Definitely.
It's like, sorry, babe, I'm not going cold plunging with you.
Imagine you cold plunging. Thankfully, Bumble's latest interest badge feature can help you avoid these kinds of awkward situations.
Whether you're a party girl or big on self-care, Bumble lets you add up to 5 interest badges to your profile to help you match with people who like what you like.
Helping you date on your terms.
I love this.
Take this as your sign to download Bumble on the Apple Store or Google Play today.
This has actually triggered something in me personally, because one thing I think about a lot as being like a public facing person, and we film this podcast every week, which makes us approach how we dress and how we look differently. Like there's just pressure, right? I talk a lot about the point of difference for me and what I try to do every day as being like, I'm willing to like make a reel with no makeup on. And I was really willing to do that when I had like really bad acne. And I talk about that in the sense that I think it makes me more approachable and relatable to people. And I think it makes me more likable in many ways because I'm presenting as like authentic or organic, you know, blah, blah, blah. And so I really was like pushing through a lot of insecurity to consistently like post and do public appearances and things when it was really bad. But I also know that whenever I look more like the beauty standard, like now that my acne is gone, now that my hair is back, whenever I have periods of weight loss or change, fluctuation generally, the engagement on my Instagram soars. The likes on my photos, the comments, the messages.
Bigger.
Interesting.
I remember we spoke about this once, which almost could be a completely different episode in itself. And I find it so interesting to unpack is the concept of pretty privilege.
Yeah.
And whether to utilize it or not, and whether it's like feminist to utilize it or not.
Yeah.
I think it is, but that is a whole other episode.
Oh, that's an interesting can of worms.
It's a
Watch
can of
this
worms.
space.
Yeah. But I remember you said that to me once, that you were like, I prefer to not be done up on stories or whatever it is because I feel like people will turn on me. That is a crazy concept to unpack.
Yeah. And they do sometimes. Like there are a certain subset of people that are less interested in me when I look better because they liked the fact that I was like less intimidating in a way.
Is it a threatening thing?
I think so. But I also know personally that like sometimes I follow like amazing creators who do meet the beauty standard, and I sometimes need to put them on mute for a couple of weeks when I'm going through a hard time. And that says more about me than it does about them. But it's just like sometimes you don't need to be confronted with things that you know will trigger bad thoughts and spirals. Like it's just easier to like step away from that and like know your own boundaries, which I think is entirely fair. And every person will have an individual response, but like the sort of like two sides of wanting to show up as like the real like plain faced myself and get and make women understand, young women particularly, that what I say matters more than how I look saying it. But at the same time understanding that when I look quote unquote like more beautiful or closer to the beauty standard, that people like really rally in a different way and comment on how I look and how it's equated with health. Like when I look better, people are like, you must be really mentally well, as if that's the measure. People are like, oh my God, you must be having such a great time being single or at work. And it's always makeup.
Yeah, glow up.
They always say I'm glowing and I'm like, it's actually makeup. But I find it really interesting how we measured that against someone's happiness as well and how that pressure is applied like that. And what I will say actually too is my power and like this skinny trend conversation, I don't know if this is the same for you, but how I feel and when I feel most insecure or like thinking about things like cosmetic procedures and Ozempic and these conversations and like regressing, it's more to do with dating than it is to do with politics.
Yeah, I think that's true.
Yeah.
That's probably true for me as well. It's a tough one to admit, but if I think about places that I'm the most self-conscious, it's actually for me not in the workplace or in what I think politically. Like that stuff I'm pretty confident on. Where I feel the most self-conscious and the most judged is actually when I'm like on a date, on a first date, or, you know, intimate with someone, because you're like, oh, you're looking and I don't know what you're going to think or say. And like, I think that's I'm probably my most nervous dating. It's where I'm the least confident.
Yeah.
I'm getting better at it, but like it doesn't come naturally to me. I've had to learn to flirt. Like,
yeah, no, same. No, and that's why I still think there is like uprisings and it's more about the collective. It's more about like collectively women see a resurgence in like the beauty standard and like as an industry, the pressure and the resurgence of like new cosmetic procedures and new diet fads and things. But I think at a personal level, it's way more about my relationship status, how I define myself. And that's concerning to me in a different way. But I completely agree. Final point. This is again a devil's. I'm devil's advocating, and that is
devil
crazy.
Has enough advocates,
and
but
I never am on the team of the devil. But I just think with this one, because I know I agree.
Yeah.
I really wanted to push the boundaries of what this looks
well,
like.
Again, that is the point of this small talk,
Yeah.
is to interrogate why we think that.
Yeah, and you said this to me when we were discussing this episode topic, and I thought it's too brilliant to leave out.
I know.
So when I said, Sarah, when women get too powerful, does the skinny trend come back? And you said, were we ever really that powerful? It was obviously a joke and an incredible one at that, but I think it has merit as a question, right?
I mean, I think we've come leaps and bounds.
Oh,
we're not taking away from
gold
that.
star,
like,
women, look at us.
Gold star. But like, would I say we're like toppling the patriarchy? You can see Europe topple with female leaders. No, like,
No.
I just
Like, have we achieved enough for them to really put out the last frontier, the last barricade of oppression?
I'm sorry. It's like, look at it even just generationally. We've come a long way, but it was within our like grandmother's lifetime that we like, didn't have some pretty fundamental rights.
But if we also look at it, this skinny trend reemerges every decade.
Yeah.
And that's really giving it time. You know, I think it's
Yeah.
every 3 years more like.
Yeah.
But I really thought that was an interesting point to lead on, because the argument is, are we even getting close enough to require a counter move?
I'm sorry, but like even the stuff you were, what was that? Culture vulture? What was the examples you gave?
Oh, like Weight Watchers versus the pill. Yeah.
I'm sorry, the pill fucking sucks. I'm not sure
That's
that
a whole episode too.
I'm not sure that was leaps and bounds for us. Like, understandably, we have contraception. We don't all have to have children all the time, but like, no one did a lot of research into that one.
Well, I mean, the depressive tendencies, all of the side effects aren't great. And then when they tried to introduce a male contraceptive pill and 3% of them experienced some mood side effects, they went back to the drawing board.
Yeah, no. And what was the other example you gave me?
Oh, Roe v. Wade existing. It's
been
done.
overturned.
It's actually over. We're back pre-70s right now. The pill sucks, says Sarah, and Roe v. Wade's over.
So my point is, I'm just not sure what we're...
And yet we're like, and I'm going to need fake eyelashes and an eyebrow tint this week.
No, it's embarrassing because I do have an eyelash tint booked in this
Do you?
week. I love that.
Yeah.
That's different to what we're talking about.
That's my girl.
I think it's a really interesting concept, and I think there is merit to it. I think we put ourselves in that cage, and I don't think we've ever really got out of the cage. And I understand it's coming from the top, and then we reinforce it within our algorithms and our own social circles and our own generational trauma and mindset. But like, I don't think it's a trend because I don't think it ever left.
I just think that women are really invited into self-hatred.
Yes.
We are really, they beg us.
Yeah.
And we
I
find
think
it so
that
easy.
just fluctuates in severity sometimes.
And I think when that self-hatred is invited in, we then go, oh, it's really easy to inflict it on others now too. We really project. Like, it's actually none of my business, like, what is going on that side of TikTok, and yet I end up there every single day.
Yeah.
And I think another proof of your point about have we ever gotten that powerful, Naomi Wolf, who wrote The Beauty Myth decades and decades ago, now she's a bit problematic now, but one of the quotes that stands and really proves this point is she said, a cultural fixation on female thinness is not an obsession about female beauty, but an obsession about female obedience. And that is the original TikTok quote, really.
I think we ended on that.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll draw the conclusion. The conclusion is, I think the statement has merit, and I think it's something we need to keep in mind, and I think it's something we need to be very wary of. But I don't think it can be simplified as easily as that.
I think, unfortunately, beauty standards have a chokehold, a grip tighter than simply when the women's movement gets too strong. I think it is ever present in our psyche.
And we will unpack it more.
Thank you so much for listening this week. I love that I got to make it a bit more political too. Like, small talk, but Hannah's still going to add the spice.
Oh, yeah. But like, I guess it really depends what topics we do.
Yeah.
Because some are going to be like relationship, and then some is going to be
teetering on the edge of big small talk. You know,
Yeah.
I love that. But
it's finding the big and small balance within this new series. So you don't know what you're going to get, kind of thing.
Please send us your topic ideas. If you've seen something online this week, if you've had a discussion with your girlfriends that you want us to talk about, at bigsmalltalk_pod is our Instagram handle. And see you next Tuesday.
See you next Tuesday.